Every once in a while, I'll get an itch to go back and play a game I haven't played for a little while. And in this particular case, it was RuneScape 3. I just thought, I kind of missed that game. There was something I kind of liked about it. And as much as I like Albion Online for many different reasons, generally related to the player-driven economy, there are no quests in Albion Online. And RuneScape 3 does have a lot of quests, and some of those quests are actually interesting and well written. So I thought, let me give that game a try. So I install it, even subscribed again, and started questing. And before long, I realized that the other part of the game, probably the main part of the game, the reason why people put decades of their life into RuneScape, is the grind. It's realizing that you could get a higher number if you clicked more trees, if you continued to keep on trying to reach the next milestone. And initially I thought, that's actually kind of cool. I sort of like that. Until you realize that you're just clicking trees for no particular reason. And you're feeling like it's not just something you're passively doing because it's cathartic or enjoyable. It's something that you probably actively don't really enjoy, but you're convincing yourself it's fun because you have this idea that if you do it enough, you're going to get something eventually that's going to make it fun. And yet the reality is that's an empty promise because it never really works out like that. The reality is you wind up just spending a lot of time doing things that aren't really all that fun. And it just got me to thinking about how easy it is to go down the rabbit hole of prioritizing the outcome and the end result over the journey and the experience. Now, thematically, Albion Online and RuneScape 3 are somewhat similar. They're both games which involve random grinding. They're both games that involve repetitive activity. And to that, I would say repetitive activity is not necessarily intrinsically a bad thing. And I like to use as an example, getting exercise every day or going for a walk every day. It's something that I enjoy doing. And it's something that I do because it's healthy to get exercise. It's healthy to be outside. And it's also quite repetitive. I'm probably going to do the same things every day. I'm going to see many of the same sights every day. It's not really something where I would say that the content changes dramatically. It's not that one particular action is repetitive and the other action is not. The difference is that one of them I'm doing because I'm enjoying it in the moment, and the other I'm doing because I'm thinking there's going to be a payoff down the road. It's that gear grind, hoping that one day I will live to see the time when I can say I'm 99 in every skill, despite the fact that the way to get there is to just sit there idly clicking over and over again, running back and forth between a tree and the bank with logs, or trying to light 100 bonfires, or spend 3 hours stealing potatoes from the same market stall just because it's going to increase your thieving profession level. Those kinds of things, they start to seep in, and they're kind of sticky. But it also got me thinking about how we can convince ourselves that something is good for us just because everyone else is doing it. There's lots of people who are sucked into the gear grind of MMOs because it's kind of an addictive loop. It's promising some sort of freedom at the end of an infinite grind. And that's true in life, whether you're looking at career progression or in a game, looking at endgame pursuits. But the effect is pretty much the same. Instead of enjoying the experience, you're trying to get through an experience you don't enjoy as quickly as possible so that you can reach an end which isn't really going to satisfy. It's an illusion. And I think that it's important to look at things that maybe you quit, things that you walked away from because for some reason they didn't resonate. That game that you played and you thought it was cool, but then you didn't keep playing it because there was a reason. Sort of like a relationship that seems like it was maybe better than it was when you look back on it in hindsight. And yet, if you're honest, you know it was more of a toxic relationship than a healthy one. Sometimes it's good to walk away from those things and just allow them to be what they are. That's not to say that you can't have a good experience in RuneScape 3. For some people, that's the epitome of fun, maybe. But for me, after an afternoon of playing, once again, I was reminded not of how fun it is, but of all of the reasons why I decided it wasn't the game for me. And so I went back, once again, to the familiar titles that I feel are frictionless and don't impose on my time. It doesn't mean that they're not repetitive. It doesn't mean that the games I like are perfect. But they're all games that I feel, at least in terms of the way I play them, that I can log in and just chill for a few minutes or an hour, or maybe not at all. They're the kind of games that have some kind of a vibe about them that just has spoken to me many times in the past and probably will many times in the future. And it's those familiar things which also add value without expectation, which I think are the most important things to continue to hang on to in life. Even if they do sometimes feel maybe a little bit boring and you start to think, well, why don't I go and see if there's something else out there that might do a better job of holding my attention. The truth is, life is meant to be sort of an aimless wander. It's supposed to be something that you just do because you genuinely enjoy it. Something that's frictionless. And I was thinking about frictionless experiences as I played RuneScape earlier. When you start wanting to quest in RuneScape, you'll find that before long you're stuck. Like, you don't know exactly what NPC you're supposed to talk to or exactly what you're supposed to do, and then probably you're going to wind up reading a Wikipedia article, and then you're going to be working off of a checklist to make your way through a quest to get it done. And it just doesn't really feel like a frictionless experience. In a game like Elder Scrolls Online or Albion Online, I just log into the game and do whatever I want. And I'm probably not going to be reading a Wikipedia article to figure out how to play the game. That's not to say that it's not nice to have a little bit of nuance and depth, but it also can be a bit counterintuitive when you're supposed to be playing a game because it's relaxing, and the more you put effort into it, the more it feels like a chore. And I think a lot of people just get sucked into it, and they've done it for so long, they want to convince themselves that they enjoy the experience, even though they really don't. It should be self-evident that you enjoy something. And I think if you don't know for sure that you enjoy the experience and you aren't positive that it's adding value, it probably isn't. And what I couldn't shake was that nagging sensation. Not that I had enjoyed my afternoon playing that game, but rather that sense that I just had wasted my afternoon. Sort of like the same feeling as scrolling through social media, and it's sticky enough that you do it. Same thing with probably short videos and things like that, short form content and other things that just make you click on them and scroll, but they're not really adding value to your life. They're not really something that makes you feel better about the way you're spending your day or spending your time. It just makes time go into the abyss. That's kind of the feeling I got. And so I was reminded of, why I have a certain play style and approach to gaming, which has worked pretty well for me. And that is to find titles that I can just play when I want, how I want, and not have any expectation that I'm going to put a lot of time into them or that I'm going to reach any specific goal or objective in the game, where they're just fun and relaxing and enjoyable to play and work well with anything else going on in life, not something that sort of hijacks your life and takes over your day. When you have that feeling that, I need to play a little bit more so I can just finish this one thing I need to finish. And if I don't finish it, then, I didn't do well enough or something like that. But that there's going to be something else that you need to grind for after that. Like there is no end in sight. It's just that knowledge that there's this enormous hole that's going to consume the rest of your life if you let it, because there's never going to be an end to the gear grind. There's never going to be an end to the news feed. And you just know, like, if I don't stop scrolling and clicking, I'm going to wind up doing this with all my spare time forever and ever. And I can't let that be. So simple experiences that are convenient and don't have a ridiculously high learning curve, things that are more satisfying and less puzzling, things that are a little bit more able to fit in around your life instead of being a major, objective of life, I guess. I think that they work better. Sometimes it also boils down to things like user interface and being able to just log into the game and find that the experience is self-explanatory. Like I've been playing a little bit of No Man's Sky this week as well. And the more I play that game, the more I realize it's kind of the same experience. It's not to say that it's not a good experience. It's just, it starts to feel like a chore. It starts to feel like there's something about it that's not really hitting quite the right spots emotionally, And then I find myself missing the other titles that I actually do enjoy more because I'm thinking, well, I need to play this game that I wanted to play. And, I had a little bit of fun, but then, like, did I have enough fun to want to keep on playing that game? I don't know. Maybe not, And again, it goes back to that whole notion. If you have to ask yourself if you're having fun doing something, you probably aren't. And if you feel like something is imposing on you, it probably is. And there's that weird nuanced difference between something which can be, a serious part of your life without being something that takes up too much of your life or your thoughts, and then other things which wind up being consuming in a more negative way. And it can be functionally similar things, but one thing can be something that winds up being a positive experience, and a very similar thing can be something which is a negative experience. It's kind of like if you were to compare drinking alcohol, and I don't drink alcohol, but imagine the difference between going to a bar and getting drunk on a Friday night and going to a symphony or a luxurious dance or something like that and having a glass of wine or champagne at intermission or something, right? Like, think about the difference. That nice glass of wine could be in moderation. It could be part of a beautiful romantic dinner or a very cultured event. And the same thing, alcohol in a different context, could be excessive. It could be destructive. It could be something that destroys relationships or destroys your life or does harm. And like in gaming, I think about the same thing. Like, there's people who could wind up wasting their life playing games, and then there's people who could wind up finding a lot of value spiritually, personally, or otherwise in games that they play. You could be the 300-pound basement dweller that uses gaming as a way to never connect with people and just never come out of the basement. Or you could be getting value out of gaming. Like, I think about all of the times I've been walking along on the treadmill at my desk playing a game passively and just enjoying that experience while I'm getting my daily steps in. Or I think about games that I can passively enjoy in a relaxed way while I'm doing things that maybe I get value out of, like listening to an audiobook or something like that that's also enriching and thought-provoking and stuff. So you really have to look at things. I think the bottom line is this: you really have to look at the fruits of the Spirit. Does it make your life better? Does it add value in a way that you know it adds value? Does it add a sense of peace in your life? When you take it away, does it add peace because it's a weight that's lifted off? Or when you take it away, is it something that you genuinely miss? I look at games that I play, like Albion Online or Genshin Impact. Some of these games, like, they're not perfect. Like, I've got criticism I could levy against the full loot PvP system in Albion Online. As cool as it is, it can also make many parts of the game inaccessible and many player interactions potentially a little bit more harsh or toxic. I could criticize the gacha system in Genshin Impact. It's something which can, for some players, be a pitfall because it sucks them into that sort of a gambling mechanic. But for me, those things don't really apply. I don't have those problems in those games. And to the contrary, I look back on the experiences I've had in them, and I realize that they have been casually helping me to get through a lot of different experiences in real life. They've been positive experiences. They've been things that I wouldn't ever want to trade. And even if I didn't play the games anymore, I would have that sense of fondness, that appreciation for the franchise, because it's just been, positive for my mental health and my sense of connection in the world. And they've been, that familiar positive experience, not something that's a burden or an obligation or a negative thing. And that's it's different for everybody, right? You know, for some people, the tolerance of what you should be doing with your time, maybe in terms of gaming or whatever, like maybe it's it's different. Like some people, maybe their best fit is not to play games at all. For some people, maybe it's to dabble in a lot of things. For some people, maybe it's just to find a few things that really kind of resonate with you and feel like a chill, peaceful kind of activity. But I do think that it's important to reflect and be honest with yourself, though, about whether something is feeling like it's bearing good fruit in your life, or it feels like maybe it's not, and you're just convincing yourself that it's something that you enjoy when really it's kind of not a very positive experience. Be careful about lying to yourself. People do it with their careers and stuff too, a lot. And they're like, I don't enjoy this experience, never have enjoyed the experience, but if I do it for another few hundred hours, then maybe it'll get good eventually, and then I'll actually enjoy the experience. Is that true? Probably not. The only thing that's really going to change after a couple of 100 hours is just you're going to have that sunk cost fallacy, and then you're going to consider that you're in it too deep to walk away, and then you'll just keep on going. And then you have those toxic people that are kind of angry at themselves even for being sucked into it, but then they also are unwilling to walk away, and that's it's not really the place to be. So remember that sometimes when you walk away from something because it didn't quite seem like a good fit, your first intuition was actually right, and it just wasn't really a really good fit, and that's okay. So do things that you enjoy. Do things which respect your time. Enjoy your life, not for the destination, not for the end of the grind, but for the journey along the way. As always, have fun on your adventures. Till next time, thanks for watching.